Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Joseph Lindsay. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Director of Admissions and Operations at Berkeley Law. I'm also the Acting Assistant Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid. I hope I'll have the opportunity to meet you while I'm on the road this fall at one of our one-on-one advising appointments, our general office hours, or at one of our in-person tours and information sessions if in the area. We host those sessions each month this fall. In the meantime, I hope this recording will be helpful for you and answer some of your questions as you prepare your application for the fall 2025 JD admissions cycle. So each year we try to do our best to recruit and admit some of the country's most promising, diverse, and dynamic students to the Berkeley Law student community. Our students, as you can tell, are accomplished and come from a wide range of backgrounds, interests, life experiences, and perspectives. From the information here, I can also add that 8% of our students earned advanced degrees, 22 of our students served in the military, 20 of our incoming identify as trans, non-binary, or genderqueer. 30% of our students self-reported that they are first-generation professional students. 26 of our incoming students also are international students, and they represent 7 different countries around the world. Now, for those of you that are beginning this process, as you know, the application begins when you visit the Law School Admissions Council website, also known as lsac.org. The application itself opens on September 1, 2024, and there are 2 different ways in which a candidate can apply. One is our binding early decision program, and the second is our regular decision program. Each of them have different components as far as timeline, when to apply, when's the last LSAT or other standardized tests we will accept, and may have other required items that you need to include with one versus the other. Now, beyond the application, the binding early decision program does not have a fee associated to it. There is a certification form that is required in order to submit your application, and we do require 2 letters of recommendation to be on file for us to complete your application. Under the regular decision program, now that's a little different because there is an application fee. So I hope you'll take time to look at LSAC's website to see whether or not you qualify or are eligible for their fee waiver program. That is one way in which you can at least see about reducing costs. We also have what's called our fee waiver request form, which is on our website. It becomes available as of September 1 and closes January 1. There are 3 categories in which you may apply for consideration. If you do not meet any of the ones that are listed, you can always select other and provide an explanation. And in all cases, you would include supporting documentation. Our staff is pretty quick to respond, usually within 2 to 3 business days, depending on if it's over the weekend, maybe a little bit longer. But we're very generous in awarding those as well to help reduce any costs and to support our students. So if you have questions about those, you are always welcome to reach out, or if you need to be directed to the page on our website, happy to do that as well. Now, with our application, there are some required materials that you'll need to include as part of your application and that are required. One being the personal statement itself. You have up to 4 pages that you can write, and we have no subject matter as it relates to the personal statement itself. We do have topics that we suggest that you can include within it related to your interest in Berkeley law, your interest into the legal profession, or your perspective and experience. But ultimately, we are hoping to understand who you are in your own voice, how you came to be who you are and where you come from, and what you care about and why. We want to see how all of these different parts, your identity, your journey, have helped to shape your perspective and why that matters, because ultimately it relates to what you would contribute within the classroom and within the law school community itself. The resume is for us and for me a bit of a roadmap in understanding your journey from when you first started undergrad up until present day, giving me a sense of what skills you've developed and also an idea as to what area of interest within law you're thinking about. That also then relates to why us. Now, there is no page limit to this, but in general, 1 to 2 pages in length. But please remember too, you are not applying for a job. So I hope to understand and see as much information as possible. Be sure to include work experience, leadership, volunteer positions, on campus and off internship opportunities. If you have research and publications, be sure to include. If you have any accolades or awards, feel free to do so. But ultimately, don't include anything related to high school. We're looking at from when you first started your program of study up until present day. And then also, don't assume we understand or may be aware of any acronyms. Please spell them out. And it's always helpful. Include dates, hours worked, and any duties. That's always a perfect to know more about you and the time and commitment you made for any of these positions you either held, paid, or volunteered with. For many of you, if you're requesting consideration for any of our programmatic scholarships, there are some supplemental essays that you need to include with your application. Now, if you've been paying attention to our website in the past, the public interest scholars was mostly include our optional statement, and you'll notice in this coming cycle, we've removed those from our application. The public interest scholars and the Berkeley Law Opportunity Scholarship, which is our first generation scholarship, do both require separate essays for consideration and also have a December 15th deadline. So if you are applying under regular decision, be mindful of the timeline then. That means you are upping your submission date. And it also means that you need to make sure you have a standardized test on file no later than the end of November to be considered. Our Hyundai Kia scholarships is also another programmatic scholarship that has a separate supplemental essay, but the deadline for that is actually February 10th, the same deadline as our regular decision application as well. Now, as you're applying to law school, we require a valid and reliable score on file. So in this case, it's either your LSAT exam, or your GRE. That information, of course, is being routed from ETS directly to the school. Otherwise, LSAC will send us your score once it's released. There may be some of you, though, that are applying under limited conditions and are wanting to use the GMAT. There is a supplemental form you need to include with your application. On it itself, it'll direct you to complete the form, and then you'll request your score to be sent from GMAC to us directly. Now, aside from that, there is the Credential Assembly Services Report. And so for this itself consists generally of your transcripts, your letters of recommendation, and for those of you that took the LSAT, your LSAT score. For the transcripts, you're providing all institutions that you attended from when you first started your undergraduate program, which may include community college work. And then for those of you that have earned advanced degrees, that would include your graduate work as well. Now, for us, you may ask, what is it we're looking for? Is there a specific GPA or cutoff? There are none. We don't require or look for a particular major or consider that you came or attended a specific institution. Instead, what we're hoping to understand and look at when we're evaluating your transcripts is to consider the rigor of the school you attended, the specific program in which you earned your degree, and the courses that you took when evaluating your overall academic record. We may look at enrollment trends, for example, and also to see how well you did within your degree program versus in your general courses. And so we look beyond just a GPA. The additional piece that we ask you to include as well are those letters of recommendation. The first thing I will say up front is that I hope you will ask early these recommenders so it allows them time to complete it and submit it through LSAC. We do not require that you send them directly to us. Instead, we have you send those directly through LSAC itself. Now, you can include up to 4 letters of recommendation. For those that are either in a program of study or completing, we hope to see academic letters of recommendation. 2 is highly recommended, and you can supplement it then with 1 to 2 additional professional letters of recommendation. But we also understand for those that have either taken some time away and are now working professionals or military service or have more lived experience, then we ultimately understand why we're seeing more professional letters of recommendation. It comes down, though, to the substance, not the signature. So for those of you looking at academic sources, be sure that in addition to professors, you're looking at teaching assistants, graduate assistants, or thesis advisors, And so that way they can speak about the strength of you as a candidate and how well you'll do academically within the program of study. Beyond that, there are a few optional materials that you can include. There are your academic potential addenda as it relates to academic performance or your standardized testing. If it isn't in relation to your standardized testing, please follow the instructions and include any supporting documentation, such as a screenshot of your SAT or ACT score. There's other explanatory addenda that you may include, and it truly is just to address anything or any discrepancy within your file that you want to bring up. And then there are some short answer questions, up to 2, which I will address in a few minutes on another page as well. So one of the required items, which I did not touch upon but was listed on the previous page, is our engaging with difference statement. Now, we are using a third-party platform, and so if you happen to be reviewing our webpage before August, you notice that we did have a similar optional statement that you could do in the last application cycle. It was a series of different questions, but this one is very specific. This, however, is not an interview, so you're not expected to dress as if this were a job interview or like a lawyer. You may wear a suit or a jacket, but you're not required to. We do not expect you to alter your appearance just because this is a video recording purposes. You'll have 30-second preparation period and up to 4 minutes to record your video, and there is a practice session as well prior. But this is the same amount of time, of course, that will be provided for both practice and recording that precedes the submission section of it. For those, though, however, that may require accommodations or unable to access the platform, either because of like effective communication, ASL interpreting, cart captioning, alternative media formats, etc., please contact our admissions office and we'll be able to assist you. Generally, our associate directors will be available to answer any of your questions if there are any issues. If there are technical issues, then we may defer you to Kira itself. But the statement is listed here. Ultimately, in the 4 minutes, we are asking you to describe a time when you engaged with an opinion or perspective that seemed to conflict with your own views or that challenged your beliefs. How did you react? What did you do afterwards? If faced with the same or similar situation in the future, what might you do differently based on your experiences? This is another piece of your application that is required in order for us to complete your application and will be used in our evaluation. It is not scored, but it is helpful in understanding you in this application process. The other piece that we've added are these optional short answer questions. Again, this is another opportunity to share some insight into what characteristics or qualities you may bring to the classroom. And it's just really kind of another way to really augment your application. Some of the questions are very telling and helpful for us. For example, setting aside all things academic, why us? Describe a time when you changed your mind about something, or provide an example of when you demonstrated leadership, but quietly. There's a number of different questions. There's 10 in total, but you only need to include 2. And again, they're optional. So it's not that you need to include them, but we give you the space in order to address other things as well. And they're used within our holistic review of your application. No value is assigned, but it's just insightful to learn a little bit more about you that may not have been contained within your personal statement or other pieces of your application. So for the binding early decision program, I did want to provide a brief timeline as to the process itself. Like I mentioned, the application opens in September, and the last opportunity to take the LSAT or GRE or GMAT under the limited conditions is in October. Our November 15th is our application deadline. We typically recommend early November 1, just to give time for all of the other materials to come in, but you have until the 15th to submit. Review begins on the 18th, and our decisions will be released on December 9th. We also will not deny candidates under the binding early decision program, and we will not waitlist them. Instead, we will roll them over to regular decision. And for those admitted under the binding early decision program, there are 2 things. One, we'll ask you to reconfirm that you are joining us for fall of 2025 by the 11th. So it's a very short turnaround time. And the second is that we have adjusted the scholarship or the gift aid component of it. So for those that are admitted to the program, they will receive a $105,000 gift aid award, which is evenly divided over the 3 years or $35,000 per year. Each year, we admit approximately about 40 to 55 students through this program. It may vary depending on the number of applications we receive each year, but on average, we look at around 40 to 55 students. The evaluation for binding early decision is no different than our regular decision program. It can be a little bit more competitive given the fact that there is a scholarship component to it, but the review process remains the same. Now, under the regular decision program, it also begins on September 1. Our review begins on October 1, and it is on a rolling basis, and it will continue going until the application deadline and hopefully towards the end of March at the very latest. Our decisions will start on November 8th, and also that means our final decisions to waitlist and deny will likely begin as well. For those of you that are applying for the programmatic scholarships, such as the Berkeley Law Opportunity Scholarship and the Public Interest Scholarship, those deadlines are December 15th, so it does mean you need to apply a little earlier in the process. On the 20th, we begin doing what we call gift aid award, and that is related to our scholarship, and that will be on a rolling basis as well. And then our application deadline is February 10th. At the very latest, our last decisions that will go out are March 31st, and that does, though, exclude those on the wait list because it is a different process as well. Now, I want to touch just briefly again about our perspective. What is the things that we're looking at as a whole and how we're evaluating it? For us, though, that does mean that we consider all aspects of an applicant, not just their academic performance. We don't have a minimum GPA, and we do not have the LSAT requirement, as meaning that there is a specific score that we're looking for. We have no presumptive admits. We have no presumptive denies. There is no cutoff. When we review applications, we take into account factors such as volunteer experience, difficulty of the program, history of resilience, significant achievements in non-academic spaces, and others. We want to ensure that we're really bringing in an incoming class that has a broad array of perspectives, backgrounds, experience, so we take care to read all the components of your application that we receive. And then as we're reading, we're answering these questions. One is, can you do the work? And that will be reflective in your academic record, your standardized tests, and aspects of your resume. The pieces about what you'll contribute, other than being very smart and very capable of doing well, is going to be more reflective within those narrative pieces of your application. And also, is this something we need or want in the community? So for one thing is that we understand somebody's able to do the work, but then they fall short on either the personal statement. They don't give us enough related to the resume. The letters of recommendation are okay, but not great. And so for us, we're looking at it in different ways. And so, like I mentioned earlier, just in the academic record, we go beyond just that GPA. We look at the rigor of the program. We look at the school that they attended. We may look to see how old that degree is, especially if someone has a lot of work experience. And so that comes into a factor as well, if they have an advanced degree. But then also, if we see that they can do the work, but then we're not sure what they'll contribute, that may not be a reason for us to admit. And so for that reason, it is very holistic. We truly want to understand you, your voice, your journey, why that matters. Ultimately, what are you able to contribute, and is that something we need or want at the school? If we admitted people just because they can do the work and that's about it, I don't know how our class would look. And what conversation would actually be brought into the classroom. And so I honestly are encouraging you to think about all of those pieces and be very strategic in how you are going to leverage the written parts of your application, like the personal statement, the resume, the letters of recommendation, even that engaging with different statement. Those are factors that help us in understanding you. And so if you do have questions, though, more specifically, please reach out, stop by if I happen to be on the road. Happy to have those conversations with you and answer them. Now, the last thing I want to talk about briefly is related to financial aid. Now, for all of our students that are admitted under the program, your whole application is what we consider, regardless of whether you submit what's called our supplemental gift aid questionnaire or not. Everything within your file is what we use to determine your eligibility for merit-based awards. But we also want to consider individuals for need-based aid. Students who submit that SGA are evaluated for need-based aid, and what we are actually measuring is more historical and current financial need. We ask questions that are not related to the FAFSA. We do not ask that you include the FAFSA information because we're trying to assess overall need from when you first were growing up to present day, whether there was food insecurity, housing insecurity, a need to be receiving state assistance or government assistance, how many were in the household, income, etc. It helps us to get a better picture of the candidate for us to be able to assess need. Now, is it perfect? No. It's something that we are working, always tweaking each time to make sure that we're asking the questions really to assess need. And it's also the reason why we don't use FAFSA, given the fact that FAFSA is only measuring 12 months and we're looking at a lifetime. Now, the other thing to know is that retention and renewability is that it's renewed automatically so long as your student is in good standing and maintains satisfactory academic progress. The award we give you within the first year, you keep for each of your second and third years of law study. This year, 61% is receiving some amount of Berkeley Law gift aid, and the average award for a recipient was actually approximately $36,500. So right at that point with our binding early decision program. And also the reason why it was needed that we increase it. Now, there are scholarship opportunities that you will be considered for, but some of them, as I mentioned, you need to apply for directly, such as the Berkeley Law Opportunity Scholarship, the Public Interest Scholars, and the Hyundai Kia Scholars. Those have different deadlines and a different review by the committee. There's not an interview process anymore with regards to the Berkeley Law Opportunity Scholarship, but there may be. It still will just be determined by the committee itself. And then there are some scholarships you are automatically considered with your application, such as our Center Awards, our Military Promise Scholarship, our Native American Opportunity Plus program as well. We have continuing student scholarships, and this past year we launched 5 new scholars and fellow awards that do not require that you submit any additional information other than your application. Those awards on average are anywhere from $45,000 to full tuition. Additionally, students have the ability to borrow, if need be, through private, federal, institutional, and on occasion emergency loans. There's also post-grad support, which is misspelled, so I apologize, that's on me. Loan repayment assistance programs and bridge and PI fellowships. We also have support for our undocumented students and DACA recipients, whether they be eligible for AB 540 or non. Veterans benefits, work opportunities, and other campus programs that are on campus. Our financial aid office is within the admissions office, so any one of my team is able to answer any questions you might have with regards to tuition and fees, gift aid awards, or other sources of support while in school. So that's the end of this session, and I know it seems kind of short, but I do hope it answered some of your questions, and if not, it created more questions for you that when you stop by the table or you happen to drop in on our office hours or attend our information sessions, you can ask and we'd be happy to answer. You're welcome to always give us a call at 510-642-2274. You can email us at admissions@law.berkeley.edu, or you can always go to our website as well and view any updated information. Thanks for stopping by. I hope that I will see you while I'm on the road or at any of the upcoming events. I wish you all the best in this application process, and I hope that we can answer your questions throughout this process. Have a good day.